On this episode of RC Kicks, well, you've all rushed out and bought your Tamiya Escort rallies and you've been beavering away building your MF-01X chassis. But now you've got the itch. Do you want to put some upgrades on it, or should you just move on by and pick up something like an M-08 Concept chassis? On this episode, we find out, because we'll put both of them head to head and we'll take them out driving.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi and welcome to RC Kicks. On today's show, well, we're going to take out and drive the new Escort Rally from Tamiya. The car is all finished. I finally got a servo in it. If you haven't seen the build videos, I'll put a link up here. Go check them out. So I now have a fully functioning MF-01X chassis. But on this show, I'm also going to put the M-08 Concept chassis under the Escort, and we're going to drive both of them. Now, a lot of you have been busy beavering away building your MF-01Xs. Now, the choice is, do you spend some money upgrading this one, or do you splash out on something a bit more high-end and then sell on your chassis before you drive it? So today, what we're going to do is take both cars out, put them underneath this stunning body from Tamiya, and find out if it's worth it or not. But before we do that, I just want to say a massive thank you to EuroRC, who sponsored this video by sending over the M08 chassis. And they sell lots of RC stuff, so if you're in the market for some RC bits and pieces, be it electronics, kits, all kind of stuff, go check them out, link in the description, and a massive thanks to them. Also, the Escort body. I have seen a few people that have posted saying they're having a few problems with the white paint flaking off. Someone has some problems here, and I've also seen some issues around the top of the windscreen. So obviously, if you get one of these, go straight back to where you bought it from and just tell them, take photographs, and obviously they will exchange it for you, or you could just touch it in yourself, but it's your own personal choice. My one seems to be fine. I don't seem to have any problems with it at all from a blemishing point of view. If you find that the alignment of the paint is not quite there, don't worry. The black window surrounds are pretty thick, so there's quite a lot of margin to play with. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if you obviously have flaking off of the paint, then there you go. You need to sort that out and speak to the people you bought it from. Right, so the MF-08 chassis. What do I like about this chassis and what don't I like? Well, one thing that's really nice is the way that they designed it, that you can extend and contract the wheelbase by putting in extra blanks. Love that idea. And then all you've got to do is change the prop shaft and buy the relevant prop shaft between the small one and then the large one and the medium one, and then put that in and away you go. So you could change the wheelbase on this if you have the prop shaft 15 minutes. So I really like that idea. Another thing that's really good, being that it's a rally car, you're going to take it on gravel and dirt and things like that, it actually has a pretty much sealed chassis. So cleaning it off is actually pretty easy. The only thing that's a bit strange is they've actually cut this section for the servo. But the servo is embedded deep inside the chassis, so to adjust it is not that easy. So personally, I think they should have done more with this hole, or hadn't have no hole at all. Because if you want to mess around with the servo, you've got to take it out, which is a real pain in this car. So it just means that dirt can get in through that hole. So if you're going to do some driving, it's probably best to put a bit of electrical tape over that hole, and it'll just keep some of the junk out. from that point of view, but all the rest is nice and tight, so there's not a lot of places for dirt to get, so I really like that. Ride height is pretty good. It's obviously jacked up quite high. because you do have different settings that you can pick when you're building it, but this is set on the high level, so it gives you good ground clearance. Now, the main issue I have with this is being that it's four-wheel drive, and obviously the Escort was supposed to be two-wheel drive. So there's that. Now you can take out the prop shaft, obviously. Now I haven't done that yet, and I will try that to see, because it's not as easy as that. Just taking out the prop shaft and having the front not under power, it doesn't always work. Chassis are not designed that way. A chassis that's designed to be rear-wheel drive, for instance, will always perform better than a four-wheel drive that you just take that out. Different weight distributions and stuff like that. But I'm going to try it and see, because you never know. I'm not sure what the weight distribution's like, and then obviously you can take weight out of the front by taking all the front diffs out and things like that if you want to. So that's something to experiment and play around with, and I'll do that on the show one day to see how it drives versus the M08. The biggest thing, I think, the letdown, which I think we're going to see once we go out driving, is these friction shocks. They're just... I don't think any kit really should be coming with friction shocks now, apart from maybe the the grasshoppers and stuff like that. I just don't think this car is too nice. The body's too good, and the kit's pretty good. That to put friction shocks on it, I personally would rather have paid an extra £5 and had some proper oil shocks in it. So there we go. But you obviously, when you're buying it, you can then spec some oil shocks later on. But I think that's probably going to be the biggest flaw with this chassis. From a battery point of view, you can actually fit a 3S battery in this, a 3S LiPo battery. When we went out running, I put 2S LiPo in both of them, but they're the Tamiya shaped ones. But you can put a 3S square battery, I'll put a picture up here, that slides perfectly into both of these. One thing I did find with the MF chassis is that the standard sort of NIMH batteries, they tend to like slide around quite a bit, so you need to put some extra foam in because they're quite short. But 3S LiPo fits perfectly in both of these cars, literally perfect. But 3S probably a little bit hot. The motors that I'm running in these, I've got a sports tuned in the M08 and I've got a torque tuned in the MF. So there's not that much in it, to be fair. Running the same tyres, the same wheels, same size wheels, should I say. I had these ones lying around, and actually I quite like the grey. I think it goes quite nice. So comment below what you think. Now, as for the M08, going this route instead of upgrading the MF chassis. Also, there's a lot of upgrades you can get for this. Now, Jenny, who moderates the RCKicks Facebook group, has gone to town totally. So I've got loads of pictures, so I'll put up a few pictures here so you can see just what you can do with this. And that's one way to go, but you're going to spend quite a lot of money upgrading it, that's for sure. But it looks really impressive. I really like it. But if you want to go a different route and get something like this, now this is more of a racing chassis, so obviously the ground clearance is not as high. You can't set it up without modifying it to be as high, so there is that. The other thing you've got is obviously there is some bigger holes, so from a gravel dirt point of view, but you can, like I was saying about here, you can put some electrical tape across there and across the bottom, and the rest of the chassis is actually quite flat. So cleaning that off is not too much of a problem. The only kind of way you're going to get more dirt is here, really, as the dirt flies up on the edges of the batteries. But being there on the outside, it's not that bad. You can adjust the ride height with these little Allen key marks here, and I've got them set to the maximum. So the ride height is still reasonably high. Now, it's not as high as this one, obviously, but I don't think it's going to give you as much trouble as a lot of people think. Steering wise, the actual steering angle on these things is really good. It's a much lighter car, so it's obviously going to be quicker. As for stiffness, I don't think there's that much in it. I think they actually did quite a good job for a budget chassis. From that point of view, obviously the weight distribution, everything is much lower on this car, as you can see, versus this one. Both fit perfectly. I can just take this body and just put it on both once you've set up the heights. As you can see, there's not that much difference. The body will move around more on the stock chassis because these are unsupported, whereas I really like what they did here. If you can see, you've got these extra brackets, so that is much stronger, so the body doesn't wobble around as much as it does on this one. And you could probably do something along the same sort of lines with these ones. Right, that's enough waffling. Let's take them out and blast them around a little bit and see how they get on. So there you go, I hope you enjoyed that run, and I now have 2 hours of cleaning. But what did I think after driving both cars? Well, the biggest concern I think a lot of you had when putting the M-08 chassis under the Escort body is that it won't be able to handle any kind of gravel or dirt and stuff like that. And as you can see from the video, it's fine. You know, you can't go super off-roady on it, but a bit of light shingly stuff and a little bit of mud and dirt's not going to give you a problem. Driving the M-08, great fun, getting the tail out. It's obviously a lot harder to drive the M-08 than it is to drive the MF stock chassis that you get with the Escort, because it's four-wheel drive, obviously. I've got the suspension set to the highest level possible, and I think throwing a gyro in it, and also you can work on getting the steering angle. The steering angle on the M-08 is actually pretty good by default, but you could turn it into a bit of a drifter, that's for sure. So if you like tail out and you like a little bit more of a tricky drive, the M-08, I can recommend it. It's fantastic. The stock MF kit, bearings definitely. I mean, I'm not running bearings in there, these are bushes, but I would definitely put bearings in it. And at the same time as you buy the chassis kit, buy some oil shocks, because this thing pogos around like crazy, and I don't like that at all. You know, real cars don't bounce down the street like that. But apart from that, it's pretty good. It's easy to drive. having the four-wheel drive means you can push it a little bit harder and it will drive on grass better and things like that if you want to go down that road. But if you like a little bit of loose shingle and tarmac driving, the M-08 is definitely a better car all round, really. So there you go. What do you think? Comment below. Anyway, thanks so much. Please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to see content earlier than you're watching it now, go and check out the RCKicks Patreon page, as it helps support the show. And I'm posting content constantly throughout the day, every day. So you see stuff behind the scenes before you see it like you're watching it now. Thanks so much. See you on the next one. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's so dirty.